So we're going to get started. Thank you for coming out on such a bad night. We really appreciate that. My name is Dr. Al Costanza. I'm a functional medicine clinician educator going in practice for going on 48 years. This is my assistant, Li Wang, and Li has 2 graduate degrees in human movement and rehabilitation. One is a 5-year degree in Japan and a 2-year degree at Northeastern and a bachelor's degree in China, and speaks 3 languages. So in any event, we're going to get started, and this is a PowerPoint presentation that we worked on together. And the thing that excites me about this is because what Li's brought to the table, in Japan, people do live, in their 70s, 80s, and 90s independently, and that's our goal. So let's go to the next.
Yeah, Dr. Li Costanza is spending the next 20 years. is spend the 20 years helping people in community achieve long life, and with help the people with the goals, the wildlife, the 100 years or beyond 100 years. So first I will give the 2 key ideas: lifespan and health span. So lifespan, that means the total years a person live. Health span, the number of the years people live with active, with independently, and very physical, with the physical health. So live longer is not enough if we cannot enjoy our life. So we can see it from the picture. This was an example. People who live to 90 years, she spent the last 20 years with illness, pain inside of the hospital. And another person who also lived to 90 years, he spent most of his life with family, with friends, enjoy hobbies, go to the mountain, and the last days in hospital. So the quality of the life is as important as the years we live. We not just add years to your life, we need add life to your years. So that's why we need to create health.
When people talk to the doctor over the age of 40 or 50, and the doctor basically says to them that, well, what do you expect? You're over the age of 40, and they just assume that infirmity starts at that age. How you live your life matters. So it just isn't aging, it's what you've done, with your life, and there are things you can do. Prevention is very powerful. Once disease is well entrenched in the human body, you're limited in what you can do. But the thing is, when you become symptomatic with something, you've had it many, many years. You just didn't know until it gets to a more advanced point with that. And then they're just going to manage it with medications and so forth. And they look at the body from a different perspective. You get all these specialists, but the part they miss, the parts talk to each other. So we call it systems biology. So you want to get to the lowest common denominator, and that's at the cellular level, basically. So, yeah. So in any event, we'll go on to the next slide.
To maintain the health lifespan, the muscle is important. So why muscle matters for healthy life? As we get age, the muscle will get lost, and the muscle strength will become weak. In serious conditions, some people suffer the sarcopenia, the loss of the muscle, less the muscle strength. That is also one of the main reasons why our fitness declines with age. So from this figure, this figure is a comparison of the 23 years old man to 78 years old man. The muscle mass changed dramatically. So the strong muscle, with the muscle strength, we can go to the stair. We can carry the groceries. We can go to the every place we like. When the muscle get weaker, muscle less, we cannot easily move. So this will bring a lot of inconvenience to our daily life.
Another thing to mention, first of all, you can replete the body of muscle at any age. Muscle correlates to bone, and bone correlates to muscle. We call it lean body mass. So you lose one, you'll lose the other. And like I said, so you can replete the body of muscle, not just from exercise alone, but when you get the body out of the stress response. If the body has physical stressors or psychological stressors, you're basically eating yourself for lunch, but you don't really know it. So it's important to address the body metabolically. When we use the word metabolic, we mean at a cellular level, and that's basically where we start.
So have a healthy lifespan, we need to have the functional fitness. What is functional fitness? That means the basic physical ability to do daily activity. It contains 4 important parts, like muscle strength, cardiorespiratory fitness, joint flexibility, balance ability. So what is the muscle strength? As you can see from this figure, this when the people get strong, you can hold 2 people. That's interesting figure. When we live alone inside of our room, at least we have the muscle strength to open the cap of the bottom of water, because we need to drink water by ourselves. We don't want other people to help us. So we need the muscle strength. Before we walk, we need to get enough of muscle power strength to get out from the chairs. So we also need cardiorespiratory. We stay in home, but we also want to go outside of home. So you need to have the walk ability. You can walk, go to the park, enjoy the flowers. So you need to have a very good cardiorespiratory. So for joint flexibility, how to understand that? So now we can try stretch your right hand, then do the back scratch. So which position you can reach, whether you can put the 2 hands together. Yeah. As you do it, you can back to where you were 10 years ago. Our body changes, especially when we get the age 50, 60, 70, and 80 years old. Some people, they couldn't notice these small changes until this simple movement become difficult to do. So that's a small test, just tell you should pay attention, care about of your body. Yeah, so insufficient the flexibility on the hip hamstring flexibility is associated with the low back pain, increase the risk of the muscle injuries and the gait limitation, increase the risk of the falling. That's why we need to keep and maintain our joint flexibility. And another one is balance ability is also important.
So one thing that you could try, standing in a doorway, and then, go up in one leg, try for, 10 to 20 seconds. Then if you really want to push the envelope, try and close your eyes, but not standing in the doorway. The brain plays an important part in this, and what has a big influence on our brain is our sleep, especially when you don't get into that low brainwave activities called delta level sleep. That's between, I forget how many seconds, but really, really important to get into that deep sleep with that. And you need about 45 to 90 minutes of it a night. It's between 1 and 5 of the brainwave activity with that. So yeah, there's a number of things that are tied in with balance, but the sleep issue, very, very important. That, yeah. Okay, so when we talk about structure, we're talking about basically lifestyle. You go to your doctor, and the doctor will say, you know, your condition or your symptoms are caused by your genes. And they look at it like genes is everything. In functional medicine, we have the word epigenetics. It means above the genes. So we look at it as genes is attributed to maybe 10, 20% at the most. Do you inadvertently or advertently water and fertilize your weak link? That. So also I mentioned earlier, as far as the getting to the lowest common denominator, which is your cells. So the cells make up tissue, tissue make up organs, organs make up you. But also what's associated with the environment is things that act like fake estrogens. We call them xenobiotic xenoestrogens. And it's accumulation over a period of time that has an effect on us. Also the heavy metals. I'm working with someone right now. He's 24 years old. He's autistic, nonverbal, and we're going to work on the gut to help him with that. But one of the connections is in his lab work, I noticed he has high levels of lead, and there is a connection with lead toxicity in the brain, big time, so forth. Okay, let's see what we have here. So I talked about sleep, very important. I mean, you notice if you don't get a good night's sleep, and usually get your deepest sleep in the former part of the night, before midnight, you know, you feel off the next day. You know, you're mixing your words up like I am tonight. In any event, so sleep is really, really important. Nutrition is important, but I want to emphasize one word: diversity. Basically, most people eat the same 5 foods over and over again. And when you think about, you go in the rainforest in the Amazon, and there's tens of thousands of plants that has a lot of these plants. We eat them as the macronutrients that break down the micronutrients, and the mitochondria of the cells inside of the cell, the nucleus of the cell, is affected by these nutrients. So keep in mind what we eat has a big, plays an important part. So in my breakfast, I eat a combination of vegetables and I will have one egg, and I'll have some carrot juice because carrot juice and carrots is known to help reduce the risk for cancer. But we're talking at least 13 to 15 different foods that I eat at breakfast alone, which I find is helpful. And I do the same with the rest of my meals. So the key is diversity. And in functional medicine, we basically say it's a bold statement, but 70% of your health is influenced by your diet of what you eat. And there's not one diet that fits all. So the diet that serves person A does not for person B makes person C sick. So we evaluate the patient and we customize it according to their core food plan. Let's see, we have, so nutrition, exercise, movement are on the same level. Very important, you have to keep moving. What I do is I sign up at LA Fitness and I prepay for commit to a 6-month period because I'm 74. I have to keep moving. I have to do this the rest of my life. Let's see, ideally habits are very important. Ergonomics, are you sitting at a computer? Are you looking at your phone and you're bent over? There is a correlation when you see somebody who walks like this all the time, is always bent over, in heart disease. Chemicals and environment, I sort of talked about that. Those are the things that act like fake estrogens, basically, and which increases the risk for cancer in both men and women, and the heavy metals. Your mindset perception, do you see the glass half full or half empty? This is where I find, at least me personally, my belief in God and Jesus and prayer helps a lot. Periodically, I'll just come and sit in the chapel and I'll pray and I'll meditate, and it's just the greatest feeling in the world. Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I want to mention about the nutrition part. When we go to the market, select the food, we need sometimes pay a little bit attention to the nutrition facts. So this part will influence what you eat in your gut. Your gut is your second your brain. So think it, then select the food. So now we will talk more about the nutrition.
Yes. Okay. So what's interesting is that when you think of the neurotransmitters and modulators of the brain, 90% of serotonin is formed in the gut. 50% of L-dopamine is formed in the gut. So when you think of serotonin, what do you think of? You think of depression, you think of sleep, basically. When you think of L-dopamine, you think of some ADD, ADHD, addictive behavior, feeling like a purpose in life. It's not, you stay in your comfort zone, you're not being a risk taker. Sometimes change is important, it's a good thing. So that's, when you have a bad gut, I have, patients that come to me and say, I only have 2 to 3 bowel movements a week, and my doctor says that's normal for me. Well, I'm sorry, that's not normal. You should have 1 to 2 productive bowel movements a day, ideally, for the most part. Dan. Okay, let's see what we have here. Your personal habits. What's interesting, there's a principle called immersion. Immersion is the aha effect when a light goes on. So when we work with patients, we utilize the principle good, better, best. Sometimes if you go in with a bang, you're going to go out with a bang. So you do it gradually. And then you get to the point where you're starting to feel better and you will become more educated in certain areas, and you finally get that aha effect. And when you do, it's easy. So it's not that difficult, because I know change can be difficult for people along the way. Yeah. Let's see, I mentioned the thing about diversity, which is very, very important. And one thing about stress is that the body doesn't discern little stress from big stress. It responds the same way. And if you ask me, I'm going to get ahead of myself a little bit here, but what is the number one issues that's associated with chronic illness? What causes chronic illness is stress, trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, first and foremost. And then there's the big T's and the little T's. Well, the big T's, the big traumas really happen, fortunately really happen, but they can have a lasting effect. The small T's, everybody deals with on a daily basis. And so that's something that to diffuse the stress response. With some people, they might do it with exercise. Some people will do it with meditation. Some people might do it with acupuncture. For me, it's prayer, basically. So whatever resonates, works with you, that's what you're going to utilize. Because you can't, your feelings are not an on and off switch, unfortunately. And so what you can do is you want to be able to chill and relax. And we help patients do that with some of our formulas. I mean, ultimately, food is your medicine. But when the organs or systems in the body are out of balance, we want to help bring them back into balance, and we use that with herbal formulas. And we brought some tonight. We'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, we want to talk about now about the nutraceuticals, because you are what you eat, and we think of the food as an information signal of our cell. So I'm very like the hops and the California poppies. When I couldn't get well sleep, I'm very like the hops. It's a little bit strong, but after get that capsule of the hope. So after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I will become sleepy, and it do help me a lot to maintain a good sleep rhythm. So when I mentioned that, instead of eating the sleeping pills, I prefer the herbs. So herbs can help me to sleep, because when I'm eating sleeping pills, it make me a little bit concerned, because a long time eating the sleeping pills, it will make me depression. So for me, the Chinese herb, I take it as like a food medicine. Yeah. And the herb has been used as the medicine for a very long time. And the formulas is very beautiful. It's like a symphony. You put the different tones together and to be a very beautiful music. And this like the Chinese formulas for cure people the headache, like 天麻骨藤饮 and 柴胡狼菇牡蛎汤. They use the root of the plants. We are the human. We from the nature. We seek the recover from the nature.
I'm not going to repeat those Chinese herbs. Thank you. Let me grab that chair for me. I'm going to sit. I had a hip replacement last year, and I'm still working on the muscle. I want to bring that chair over here for me. Thank you. So down here, we're talking about migraines, and feverfew is one of the herbs that we use for that. However, it's different causes of the migraines. Is it due to vasoconstrictive, vasodilative? Is it due to food sensitivities, which is a big one? Is it due to chronic stress? Is it due to lack of sleep? So as a functional medicine clinician, we'll figure out what is the underlying problem of what's causing your migraines, because then it's different for different people, basically, with that. By the way, on the previous slide, we had the Western commentative herbs, and we have one of the farmers tonight is called the chill pill, and that has a commentative effect. We have another one called Calm Me Down in the liquid extract, but all these herbs are very, very effective. Okay, so here we have what it's associated with chronic illness. So I talked about the stress and the emotions. That's first and foremost. And when one has this ongoing problem, particularly with ruminating, the busy mind, that is associated with heart disease, associated particularly with cancers. It's associated with insulin resistance, diabetes, and associated with Alzheimer's, dementia. So that's a huge one. So you want to work on ways of diffusing the stress response, and as I mentioned earlier, it's different for different people, and whatever resonates with you, keep doing it. I mean, it could be someone who's a runner's high. It might be someone ballroom dancing. It could be someone singing in a choir. But once again, there's numerous things, whatever resonates with you, or a combination of some of these things can help. As I said, exercise and diet, I put it on the same plane. One's just as important as the other. They're both very important. It's different for different people. Next, I talked about the sleep and the low brain wave activity between 1 and 5 cycles per second. And then you have your pathogens, your viruses, your bacteria, mold, fungus, and parasites. What's interesting about that is that if you notice that some people will get the flu, and other family members, the spouse doesn't get the flu. They're exposed to it. One person gets COVID in the family, other people, show negative for COVID. The pathogen is not primary, it's secondary or tertiary. What's primary is your terrain. 70% of the immune system resides in the gut from here down to the other end. And so taking care of the gut, as Lee alluded to earlier, refer to it as the second brain. It's like a tube outside of the body. That's where most of your immune system resides, which is very important. And then after, mold. So what happens is that you see some mold in your shower and you're cleaning it with some bleach. Well, when you're doing that, you're actually breathing in those mold spores, so you don't want to do that. There's special chemicals and things that get rid of mold. Also, mold can be a problem if you have a new home. And I see them all the time. They're building houses, and the wood's been soaking in the rain, and then they're putting the walls together. Well, you can have it in the walls and the heating system, and you're breathing that. So that's not too good. And fungus, yeast can often morph into a fungus. Yeast won't kill you. Fungus isn't good. Fungus is associated particularly with cancer. There's a principle called the Warburg effect out of Warburg, who's a doctor, and made that connection with fermentation at the cellular level. And also Tullio Simoncini, an Italian oncologist, wrote a book, Cancer is a Fungus. It's probably about 20 years ago, and he was ostracized for his work. Well, he's not so ostracized today because there is a connection with that. And let's see, what else do we have here? The chemicals, heavy metals, I talked about that. EMF, so electromagnetic fields. So your nervous system oscillates at a certain frequency. And today you have the 5G, and you got a lot of LED lighting and so forth. So we're surrounded by all this electrical stuff. And what that does, it oscillates at a much higher frequency, which can confuse our autonomic nervous system. Let's see what else we have here. We talked about the personal habits, how you live your life matters, and vitamins and herbs. I take a lot, not just because I've developed over 140 custom formulas in liquids, encapsulation, and in powders, but it's helped me from not getting sick. I rarely ever come down with a virus or a flu or something like that, and you know, I know it's helping me, allows me to work 6-7 days a week, basically at age 74. What else? The ergonomics I talked about, you know, looking at leaning over with your computer and your mouse way over here, or you're looking at your phone all the time and you're scrolling. So this is going to be a problem, particularly for younger people who live on their phones. And let's see, the way we perceive the world, I alluded to that earlier. That matters. You see the glass half empty or half full. Lee, is there anything you wanted to add to that? No? Okay. So, this is interesting. I love this photo of the cell. So you see the cell membrane to the left, and it's picking up information from the environment. So that's that biphospholipid layer plays an important part, and it can pick up, you know, all the things that we talked about, the xenoestrogens, the xenobiotics, but also our food. So basically, you know, you think of what you call electrolytes as trace minerals. We want to get those trace minerals inside of the nucleus of the cell. In the nucleus of the cell, you have your stem cells and you have your mitochondria, and you want a positive influence on that. So it all starts with the cell, and that's something that we start with assessing when we're working with patients. Yeah.
Our body is not single, our body is the system. What we eat gives the signal to the cells. The cell form tissue, tissue form organ, organ form the whole body of our body system. Because we can influence our genes by changing our lifestyle, give more healthy information to our cell. So our body is always changing. Skin cells renew in weeks, and the rectitional cells renew in days. Red blood cells renew in about 4 months. Bone tissue is remodeled over years. So you see me today, I'm not the me yesterday. That means the body is constantly rebuilding itself. You are not exactly the same person you were months ago. So your body is constantly creating a new version of you. The new version of better you, or new version of the bad you. It depends on your choice. Every day you make a choice about what you're eating, what activity you want to do. And we are here to help get that change toward strength, vitality, and purpose.
I find it interesting. A lot of people think, of our bones as it doesn't have life to them, or particularly our teeth. Some people think of your teeth as like having a bunch of marbles in your mouth. But if you ever had a root canal, you know that it's not the case. But this is so true. So every year you're kind of growing a new body. Technical difficulties here.
Yeah, so who is the best doctor in the house? I think the best doctor is you, and your body tells you.
Yeah. So, once again, you may go to your physician with some type of health issue, and let's say it's cholesterol, they want to put you on a statin drug. Well, you're the bottom line. Don't be afraid to say, I think I'm going to work on this on my own, and let's relook at this in three months, okay? And in that time, you can make some real positive changes. Recently, I had a patient, been working with this guy for a couple of years, and all his 5 biomarkers with cholesterol were out of the norm area, out of balance. And he sent me, a couple of weeks ago, he sent me a text, and with his new labs, and everything's back into balance. And basically, I says, what are you eating, Bill? And I've, really worked hard on this. And he says, I have vegetables, I have fruit, I have tea, I have protein, and he says, and that's basically it. Let's see. So once again, who's the best doctor? You're the bottom line. So you want to be able to speak up and get second opinions and work on it on your own. Now, I'm not saying that if your blood pressure is ridiculously high, not to temporarily take your medication, because you don't want to be a walking time bomb. But keep in mind that you are the bottom line.
So we need to do the regular checkup, and the screening helps detect health issues early. Early intervention can improve the outcomes and support long-term well-being. That's why we measure where you are, and we tell you and help you to learn more about your body.
So these are some of the we call point-of-care testing that we do at the office. And the big one is the BIA, the first one. Stands for Bioelectrical Impedance Analysis. And the beauty of that, it gives me exact percentage of muscle, exact percentage of fat. How much muscle you have is a barometer for morbidity, mortality by everybody's standards in healthcare, everybody. Fat tissue, a single fat cell is called an adipocyte, which carries inflammation. So when we work with a patient who wants to lose weight, we call it healthy weight loss. We can show them that they can increase muscle and lose adipose tissue. It also gives you your biological age, not that it's etched in stone, mind you, but it gives you a good indicator. And often people come to the office and we'll test out to 10 or 20, 30 years beyond their chronological age. And if they're willing to do the work, you don't have to be 100%. But you can actually become 10 to 20, 30 years younger than your chronological age. It also will tell us your total body water. So does anyone know what your total body water is when you're born, right out of the birth canal? Marie, you should know this.
It's like 80%?
80, she's right, 80%. She works for me, she's a nurse. So what happens is that, we start off as grapes. Grapes turn to raisins. Raisins turn to stone. We don't like stone. Stone is when you see the edemic legs and ankles. So there's ways of fixing that. How do we fix that? Picture that cell again. Repair the cell membrane. Most important, restore that. Breaks down due to inflammation and toxicity, particularly in inflammation. So we get the good water back inside of the cells, bad water's outside. You want to have at least 60% inside versus 40% outside of the cell. It also gives you your basal metabolic rate. Your basal metabolic rate is how many calories you burn at rest. So that allows us to put an intake and expenditure, intake being a core food plan, expenditure being your exercise program, and often build a little deficit in it for weight loss, I should say fat loss. It can show you to lose fat but increase muscle. And muscle weighs twice as much as fat, is twice as dense as fat. And how much muscle you have, again, is a barometer for morbidity, mortality, whether to develop disease and how long you're going to live. Let's see, so it gives us intracellular, extracellular, total body water, so forth. Just a lot of good information. It goes into a computerized program with a nice printout and so forth. That. Okay, so these other tests, the Raglan test, the pupillary constriction test, these are an assessment for our adrenal glands. The adrenal glands will reflex particularly to the thyroid. So you get a lot of patients that come in, thyroid doesn't show up on the blood panel, but they can't lose weight. You know, as I say, they weigh a chocolate chip cookie and they gain 5 pounds. The girlfriend's a size 1, eats crapola, doesn't sleep or eat right, and yet stays size 1. Is it fear? No, but it has to do with stress will influence the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands influence the thyroid. Particularly notice it when the hair starts thinning out. Not that other people notice it, but you notice it after taking a shower or combing your hair, and that's often associated with this. It's called secondary subclinical hypothyroidism. It's in the Merck medical manual, but most physicians are not familiar with it. If it doesn't show up in the blood work, they don't care, basically, with that. The spit test for candida is you do this at home, you spit into a glass of water. Does it float? Does it get cloudy string, or it sinks? You want it to float. If it gets cloudy string and it sinks, that's not good. So this has to do with the systemic fungal infection. Once again, yeast won't kill you, fungus isn't very good. And then periodically we may do some of these other tests.
So beyond this measurements, we walk the journey with you. Based on the measurement data, we analyze this data. Then we help you set a realistic goals, and we will be your support system to achieve these goals.
So it has to be a certain amount of accountability. Like I said, this is why I'll commit to the exercise program, because I know if I don't, I'm not going to show up. It's just human nature. We'll think of millions of excuses. But so it's kind of important. So there's a certain amount of accountability. Most of our patients do our concierge program where they show up every month or every other month, and it's very cost effective. But there's a commitment, and we stay connected. More than the cost, it's staying connected, and they can contact us anytime, and they often do.
Yeah, we must keep another one. We need to keep curiosity. We keep the curiosity about the world. What is the changes? What is the new things? We also keep curiosity about our bodies, because that's where every day we will get fresh experience. What is the feeling of the day? This is why we need to keep curiosity. What happens inside of our body, and we want to live the 100 years life or beyond, because health transformation doesn't happen in a single visit. It happens through consistent action, meaningful support, and measurable progress. A stronger future together. We don't just measure where you are. We help you become who you want to be. From cellular health to physical function, we are here to witness, support, and celebrate your journey every step of the way. Natural health, we from the nature. So support your longevity journey with high quality customer formulas designed to promote vitality and cellular health.
I think the key word too is community. When I think of St. Joe's Church and you look at the bulletin and all of the events that they have on a regular basis, and it's non-stop, and I think that is so, so important. It gets people together and we all help each other. You know, everyone brings something to the table.
So our reason, because every healthy choice becomes biology. Every step forward becomes strength. Together, we transform data into action, action into habits, and habits into a healthier, more meaningful life.
So there's a saying: your biology becomes your biography becomes your biology. I think that's a very, very important principle. How you lived your life in the past affects you today. And, you know, this has happened once again over years. It has a cumulative effect, and that can be turned around, basically. So, you want to talk about the next?
Yeah, our next activity will be related to the immune system education in the autumn. So we are diving deeper into how your immune system works like a highly organized defense network, and you can expect what you get from the next lecture. We want to give more information how eating educates your immune system to defend itself.
Okay. Do you want to go to the next, the last one? Is that it? Okay. So this is something that, a phrase that I've come up with: attain your genetic potential, be the best you can because you can. And, you know, you have to do something. You have a choice, you know, you just keep going to your doctors in the hospital or whatever, and or you can do what we do, or a combination of both, but you need to do something, basically, that. We brought some, we're going to open it up to question and answers in a minute. I brought some of the popular formulas with me. A lot of them I take myself. I take the ocular formula because my whole family basically has macular, and I get tested several times a year for the past 5 years, and it comes back normal, which is thank God. I take the Senior Moments formula, and so that's so, you know, prevents you becoming, having developed what's called sometimes. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. You know? So it helps with that. And I brought some of the other popular formulas, the oxygen therapy formula, which helps increase nitric oxide, and it has many other health benefits to it afterwards. If you want to take a look at some of these formulas, if you're interested in any, just, you know, come down to the office and you can get some of those. So in any event, is there anything you wanted to say to finish up?
Yeah. One more thing, as the doctor Dr. Cousin, he will spend the next 20 years to help the people in this community live a longer, healthy life. And everyone, you can feel free to get a data card. If you hold that card, you will enjoy 30 minutes the free consultation. Because we want to ask everyone, no, you are not alone. If you feel depressed, anxiety, or feel unhappy, you can get help. Yeah.
Yeah. So I plan on continuing for the next 20 years, and then after that, she'll pick up where I left off. I'm passing on the baton. And I think for, 34 years old, speak 3 languages. With her background, a lot of those slides that she brought into the picture, I'm really, really impressed, and I feel totally blessed that her and I are working together as a team. All right, so let's open it up. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Don't be shy.
I have a question. If you're going to be working the next 20 years and Lee's going to be taken over, does this mean that my plans for retirement is over?
Why, you gonna be around the next 20 years too?
Somebody has to be around to bother you.
No, you'll stay on. Whether it's physically or spiritually, one way or another, you'll stay on. Any serious questions or comments? No?
Can you speak a little bit more about, I've heard some and read some really frightening things about the EMFs, and I have a millennial who's grown up on the technology, and she has all sorts of health issues.
Yeah.
But, I mean, can you speak about that?
Yeah.
I also know some people that totally don't even have anything. They don't have Wi-Fi or anything in their homes because they've had so many health issues.
Well, it's interesting you say that. We actually have a meter at the office, and if you put it up to the lights or put it up to your phone, it's going to go off. So when I'm here going to church on Sundays, I will, keep my phone in the top pocket, but I shut off the Wi-Fi so it's not looking for anything, and I don't keep it next to my bed, close to me and so forth. So, with all of this, when you think of what causes chronic disease, particularly cancer, heart disease, so forth and so on, it's not from any one thing. It's from a combination of things. Like, some may say, well, the propylene glycol in the shampoo caused my breast cancer. Maybe contributor, maybe not. Correlation doesn't always imply causation, and that's an important principle. People will say, oh yeah, this is what caused my problem, and it's easy to go there, but it's a combination. That's, I think, a holistic, that's what I basically think of. And you can't live in a glass bubble either, and there's things that kind of offset these things in the environment that we deal with, and that's where, your belief system and your exercise and eating the right diet. Food is huge. So yeah, you may be exposed to these things, and some may say, well, I'm not going to eat any deep sea fish, such as anything with mercury, swordfish, let's say. Okay. Well, the thing is, but what they're eating on a daily basis is like crap. It's like you're better off once or twice a month having the swordfish and not worry about the mercury. So you kind of have to look at the big picture, and like I said, you can't live in a glass bubble. What you do once in a while isn't a big deal. It's what you do on a regular basis. But this whole thing with the EMF, especially with the 5G, and you see these sometimes high tension wires, and the thing that looks like a trash can on a telephone pole or whatever, and is close to your house. All these things can have an effect. So you kind of have to look at it all, and you do the best you can. But you bring up a good point, because as time goes on, we just live in such an electrical world and digital world, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Animals are affected by it?
On that, yes, absolutely. It's funny you said it, because animals have the same problems that humans have. One of the companies we deal with, the Standard Process, which deals with whole food supplements as we create, but the thing is that they have their clinical guide for pets, and it uses the same protocols as it does for humans, as far as the supplements, for most of them, which is interesting. So yes, it does affect pets. Many years ago, prior to doing what I'm doing now, when I started, I was given a classical guitar lesson to a blind woman in Newburyport, the home visit, and her dog had really bad fur. So I brought some fish oil. She gave the dog fish oil, and all of a sudden, the fur is coming out beautifully, and skin's nice and everything, Yeah. But so you look at it at everything. But once again, what you do once in a while, have some dessert or cocktail once, it's fine. It's what you do on a daily basis. And that key with the diet's huge. Diversity is the key word, basically. So anyways, I hope I've answered your question. Yes?
Do you know if you have any comments on exposure to sunlight?
That's an interesting one. Years ago, I attended a symposium called No Cancer. It was a play on words, N-O-K-N-O. And there were 4 or 5 doctors who specialized in this. And they showed a particular graph. Those that lived closest to the equator had the least amount of cancer and those in Northeast United States had the greatest breast cancer in the world. Now, I'm not saying to go bake in the sun and burn. I mean, that can cause skin cancer, as you know. And then you put chemicals on your body to protect yourself from the cancer. And the skin is transdermal, you know, so this isn't good, to put all these chemicals on your body. And that's a whole other story for another seminar. But in any event, natural light is so important. So if you have just, you know, a lot of windows in your home and something like that, but we tend to live in a cave, and that isn't good either. So to get outside is important for your vitamin D. And if not, you take your vitamin D with your K2. It comes in one formula. And there is also a correlation with not having enough, with low vitamin D, as I alluded to with these doctors we're talking about in the equator, and cancer. So you want to make sure your vitamin D levels are up, basically. Yeah. So, go ahead.
I've had success with some herbal and mineral supplements,
Sure.
especially for sleep.
Yeah.
So my question, which I'll share, there's like 4 that I've been using.
Yeah.
I'm looking for whether there's an optimal time to take it. If I should split some in the morning, some at night before I sleep, or if it's okay if I'm taking them all at the same time before I go to sleep.
And this is specifically for what purpose? For sleep?
Mostly for sleep, yeah.
Mostly for sleep.
Magnesium,
Yeah.
ashwagandha,
Okay.
valerian root,
Yeah.
and L-theanine.
Okay. You're taking all of the right things. What you
Yeah.
just said is all in one of my formulas. But anyways, so ashwagandha is an adaptogen, and one needs a certain amount of energy to get into a deep sleep, and a deep sleep restores your adrenal glands. So that's what adaptogen helps with the adrenal glands. And ashwagandha is like a super herb. It does everything. So you don't have to take the ashwagandha at nighttime. You may want to take it in the former part of the day. But I take your magnesium. You take glycinate?
Yes.
Yeah, magnesium glycinate helps to induce sleep. And there's a new product from Standard Process called Easy Mag. So if you take 2 of each at nighttime before you go to bed, it's like. But one thing with herbs that's beautiful is you don't wake up in the morning and feel groggy like a medication, a sleeping pill would have you do. You know, and the deep sleep, once again, is really important. When you think years ago, when people slept, 8 to 10, 12 hours, they would work in the fields. They would go to bed at dusk. And then after, they may wake up in the middle of the night and work for an hour, and they go back to sleep and then get up with the roosters, whatever. But they were getting a long, deep sleep. But part of it was due to the physical activity, and part of it was due to the fact that they went to bed so early. Now, I'm not asking people to go to bed at 6, 7 o'clock, but, at 9 or 10 isn't a bad idea, basically. That. So hopefully I've answered your question, but that's a good combination.
In terms of like sleeping supplements, does it eventually get you to where your body will naturally do it, or do you always have to depend on the supplement to take it?
That's an excellent question, because when you take anything on a regular basis, the body can become dependent on it. When less so with the like magnesium glycinate and L-theanine, and there's another one, loses me. It's in one of my formulas for the chill pill. But in any event, herbs can also cause that, so you become dependent on it, you need more. But the whole idea is you find out, what else can I do to get into a deep sleep? So studies have shown that when you exercise 6 hours prior to bedtime will help with sleep. I know it's the middle of the afternoon, but so you look at these other things. Or are you not sleeping because of your mind ruminating? You can't shut your mind off. So that's another thing too.
With that, I just want to add, if you put on an app with the rosary on it, or if you just start saying the rosary, it's like that. You just go into a nice deep sleep.
Yeah.
I've been doing the glycine and the L-theanine,
Yeah.
and I don't even need it anymore because I just do the rosary.
Yeah. That's an excellent point
To
too.
wake up in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
it's nice too.
Yeah.
'Cause it's meditative.
All right, so I think we'll finish up for the night. Thank you for coming out on a bad night. And, you know, there's the sign-up sheet, there's some cards. If there's anything you want to, interested in, you know, set up your initial consultation. We'll sit and chat and go from there, okay? Thanks again.
Thank you. If you have some interesting topic, you can write down what you want to hear, and in our future seminar, we will try to arrange the contents you are interested in. Yeah. Thank you.